Okay, so welcome back to Anima Tactics. We're going to go into this part, which is assembling your party. So in Anima Tactics, there is no specific sequence of events that forces you to declare or to build your party before or after you roll for scenario. I personally like the idea of rolling or building your party after you roll the scenario and declaring either your faction or organization prior to rolling your scenario. So that's kind of the way I like to do it. The rulebook isn't terribly clear on how you should do that, but that's kind of how I like to do it. But anyway, we are going to build a couple of parties out of these six models. Okay, so from the last video, I had a bunch of characters that were from a couple different organizations. So let's just look at the right side of the cards right now. So I've got a Wizen Shaft, I've got a Church model, I've got another Wizen Shaft, got a Empire, I've got another Church model, I've got an Azure Alliance. Okay, so that's not going to work, basically. Setting these up by organization is not going to work because I've got 4 different organizations and only 6 models, so that's not good. So let's go by faction. So now we're gonna look at faction, and we're gonna look at the level of each character. Now, when you're assembling a party in Anima Tactics, you and your opponent both agree upon a level of game. So in Anima Tactics, there are 5 basic levels of game, and those depend on the amount of levels that you and your opponent are going to be fielding in each party. So the first level is the alpha level. This is 100 levels, total levels of your characters. This allows for no leaders. It gives you 1 no-show point and 10 advantage points. So this is typically a 1 or 2 model game. You can squeeze 3 models in, but it's typically 2 models. Then you have the beta level games, which are 200 level games. These also don't allow leaders, and your no-show points go up to 2. You end up with an organization advantage, and you can take up to 20 advantage points. And I'll explain that in a minute. After that, you've got the Gamma level. This is a 300 level game. You may take 1 leader in this game. Oh, by the way, in the beta level, the 200 level game, you can take up to 1 Wanderer at that point. At the Gamma level game, you have 300 levels. You may take 1 leader. You've got 3 no-show points. You've got 30 advantage points, and you may take 1 organization advantage. At the Sigma game, this is a 450 level game with 1 optional leader, 4 no-show points, 40 advantage points, and 2 organization advantages. And then finally, you've got these Omega size games, which are 600 plus level games. These are large games with up to 2 leaders, 6 no-show, which I'll explain later. That's a lot. 60 advantage points and 3 organization advantages. Now at that level, this game does stretch from become a very long game. So as I was saying earlier, for the most part, you want to play, say, 200 to 300 level games. If you guys are really heavy into the game, then you might jump up to 450. I find that 200 to 300 points for me is the sweet spot because I love the convenience of having 3-4 models running around and being totally good. So let's build our party. So we're going to shoot for, say, somewhere between 1 and 200 levels in this game because I've got 3 models per side. I think I might be able to eke out something like 150 levels out of this. As we mentioned earlier, we cannot go by organization, so we are going to go by faction here. So only looking at the left sides of the cards. So let's see, I've got a dark here. That's a neutral. We'll hold on to that for a while. Get another dark. I've got a light, so that we know that they're going to be in opposite teams. Got another light here. And then I've got a couple of neutral characters. I'm going to put Damien on the dark for this game, and I'm going to put Kirsten on the light side. Okay, So these are totally legal parties for these games because we've got a dark faction which can mix with neutral. We also have a light faction which can also mix with neutral. We just can't do the light and dark together. Okay, so let's total things up. Now, in Anima Tactics, typically, when you say you're going to play a 200 level game, when we say 200 levels, we're talking only character levels. In other words, we're talking only the level of the character, meaning the card, and then any upgrades that are available within that card, basically within that character. So I'm not talking about advantage cards, and we'll explain that in a little bit. So I've got Damien here, who is a level 45. Got Alessa Raincross, level 45, so I'm at 90. And I have Xavier here, level 50. That's 140 levels there for those three characters, which is great. Then I've got Lorenzo here on the light side, level 50. Claire, level 45. That puts me at 95. And then I've got Kirsten here at level 40. So that's 135. So I've got, let's put them all together. On this side, Lorenzo, Claire, Kirsten, and I'll go Xavier, Damien, and Alessa. Okay, oops. Let's keep them on screen at least. Okay. So, 140 levels here, 135 on this side. Now, I can make up the difference with an advantage card. So I'm going to add this advantage card, which is 5 levels. And I'm going to add that to my man Lorenzo, because Lorenzo loves Orb of Power. That's fun. I'm going to add that to him, and I'll explain how advantage cards work here in a moment. And so both sides are now at 140 levels. Again, if we were playing, if we walked into this game and said, hey, we're going to play 140 levels, well, the 10% rule says that you can add up to 14 levels of advantage cards for each party. 14 is kind of a weird number, so no one's going to do 14 typically, but we're just playing a demo. Give me a break. It'll be okay. But yeah, you might throw in, we'll say 10 levels, right? Because we're going to play an alpha level encounter here. So you could take 10 levels worth of advantage cards, team cards, any of those, or even plot cards. And those are going to be in addition to the 140 levels that we have here on the board. In addition, you noticed I was short on the light faction side, so I added a 5-level card, but I'll still get that the additional 10 that we agreed upon, the additional 10%. So I would actually be able to take, if we were playing this as a regular game, I'd be able to take 10 more levels worth of advantage card. But nonetheless, my parties are set, and we are just about ready to go. So let's talk about advantage cards here for a moment, since we're here building our party. Like I said before, you can take up to 10% of the game's points in advantage cards. The levels do not are not part of that declared level of the game. So again, as an example, 200 level game, you would get 20 levels in addition to the 200 levels to spend on advantage cards. Most models in Anima Tactics come with an advantage card. It doesn't mean that that advantage card has to be used for that character, but it typically is a card that can be used by that character. And there are different types of advantage cards. So this is an equipment advantage card, and basically it will have a category here on restrictions as far as what type of characters may use this advantage card. They may be, light only, church only, that kind of thing. And then the actions being automatic, or if it requires an AP point to use, it would indicate that as well. You may also have things like plot cards that will also kind of affect the battle. And the cards will explain when you reveal the card, or or when you are supposed to use the card. Now, in the case of equipment cards, what you are supposed to do, it's kind of a weird rule, is you allocate the equipment card to your character, but you don't have to show it to your opponent unless the card says otherwise, or when you're about to use the card, then you reveal it. So one of the things I might do, for example, is let's say I give that Orb of Power to Lorenzo. I'm going to stick it kind of face down under Lorenzo's card like that, so that I can be honest and show my opponent that I am not, in fact, just kind of doing a little switcheroo on equipment. And then this will say the character who has the card starts the game with an additional point of special bookkeeping device that is specific to that character. So actually, you would reveal this at the start of the game, because it's going to give Lorenzo an extra power counter when he begins the game.